Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back here with a vengeance for round 4. We're currently 1-2 in our league, which is not the best. Hopefully we can manage to end up 3-2 in this league, but if not, regardless, at least we learned something. I think we definitely have learned a lot about the deck already, and we still have 2 matches remaining, so I'm looking forward to continuing this learning, testing, and tuning progress here. And yeah, I don't have much else to say about it. The video that you will have already seen by this point is actually currently marinating, i.e. Being converted over here on my video conversion software. So it's kind of an interesting bit of a paradox, if you will, because you will have already seen this video, but this video is not even done yet. So anyways, I just thought that would be interesting to mention, as you can probably see the icon on my little toolbar down here anyways. Regardless, that's enough talking. I will see you guys in the games. Alright, we have a match. Hopefully we can just get an easy 2-0 here. Playing in sleight of hand 94. We've definitely played against this player before as well. I believe last time we played against them, they were playing some sort of like mid-rangey, like blue-black deck that did play sleight of hand. I'm not entirely sure though. You'll have to remind me in the comments. That is if you remember. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember? Have you even seen that video? We were playing Amulet Titan at the time. And now our opponent is in for a nasty surprise if they expect us to be on Amulet once again. Speaking of nasty surprises, this Field of Ruin over here is kind of ruining our day. We have a secret mode free spell here in Force Negation, and double Remand is kind of good here. We're on the draw, which makes Remand a little worse, but I mean, I don't think we can afford to send this one back. And in all honesty, we could just be pitching this Archmage's Charm to the Force of Negation, so reluctant keep, but it's a keep. If our opponent plays a turn 1/1-drop that is threatening to us, then yeah, like that one. Okay. Go. Yeah, this hand doesn't look like it's going to pan out very well against our opponent's Aether Vial. That said, if we can manage to buy just a little bit of time here and Archmage's Charm to steal our opponent's Aether Vial, then we might severely hamper their development here. Silent Clearing, okay, so this is going to be a black-white taxes deck, perhaps, or maybe just mono-white, perhaps, splashing these Horizon lands so they can cycle. Stoneforge Mystic is also really bad for us, so I don't know. This is going to be a rough game. At least we already have a Supreme Verdict, but we have none of the color fixing required to get that Supreme Verdict alive. We'll play out the Swamp here so we can fix for an Esper Charm sometime in the future, I suppose. It's probably better than playing the Field of Ruin. So, yeah, this is looking quite awful already. Which is not the best way to start a match, must say. We could probably yield to the Aether Vial trigger here. Unlikely to be responding to it, I think. Our opponent is passing without playing a land drop. They're going to get a sword into play. We keep drawing blanks, so that's, it happens. I don't know. Maybe this hand should have been a mulligan. It looks like it has everything it needs, but then our opponent played Aether Vial and Stoneforge Mystic, and we were already on the draw, so these remands just look as bad as they possibly can. Leonin Arbiter, perhaps? If our opponent puts an Arbiter into play, we're probably Field Ruining here so that they can't equip the sword. Is that crazy? Because I don't think we'd be able to search with our field either, and it would put us down on land, so I don't know, maybe not. They decide not to do anything anyways. Do we field now? No. If they're going to play anything into our remand, which they won't, but if they were going to, then we need to be able to convert this. They're going to use this one way or another, so if we're going to Field Ruin, we might as well do it at end step, so. Yep, there's the equip. You know what I just realized? We probably could have forced negation this Aether Vial a long time ago. What was I thinking? And letting that resolve. I just completely didn't even consider it. That's why we're playing Force Negation in the first place. What is wrong with me? Oh boy. Alright, well, let's cycle this remand. I mean, the other thing that we could do is just Field of Ruin here, get our white source, and hope to top deck a white source to slam the Supreme Verdict. Is that better or worse than running through this remand here? I'm not super threatened by this giver anyways. I don't know, though. I think maybe playing towards the Supreme Verdict. No, I mean, Supreme Verdict doesn't actually do a whole lot here anyway, since they can just flash in a threat at instep with their Vial. So let's cycle a remand here. Perhaps we find a path or a eliminate or something to help us deal with this Stoneforge. Archmage's Charm not looking its finest. We're definitely playing out this Fountain. And the only reason we would shock is so we can field and remand, which I think we probably need to have available. I'm not sure that our opponent would actually play into a remand at this point, but remand is going to be the first card to go with our sideboarding here. Flicker Wisp. Yeah, targeting our Fountain. So let's just, we know we're getting a plane, so let's do it this way. Get rid of the black source, just in case they're playing something like Tide Hollow Scholar. They're probably playing mono white, but... Alright, here's our white source for this Supreme Verdict. Hopefully our opponent does not have another 3-drop in hand. A Flicker Wisp would... it wouldn't do a whole lot. I guess they could Flicker a Stoneforge and search for another sword if they had a Flicker Wisp, so they would still have Stoneforge in play during their upcoming turn after we Verdict, but... Okay. We're taking a big chunk of damage here. Alright, opponent. Please play something into our remand. I mean, admittedly, if they played a creature here, I don't know that we would want to remand it. Do we want to remand this Vial? I think we do, actually. Yeah, let's go for it. Because they may not play anything else. Jace. Okay. Let's not pay the life. Untap. And our only hope is that this Supreme Verdict does what it does. So let's just, actually, we can't tap that way, can we? Let's, yeah, let's just cast this. And hope our opponent doesn't have a 3-drop. If they have a Flicker Wisp, we're just dead here. In fact, any number of 3-drops would just kill us here. Even Skyclave might be lethal, I think. Yep. Alright, so they equip the sword. Suppose they might not equip if they want to play around something. I don't know. We'll just let them equip. Let them find the line. Probably not worth the effort here, but... Definitely could have salvaged this game if we had forced the turn 1 Vial. Alright, they do equip. Alright, so let's go to the next one. As you might be able to tell, Stoneforge Mystic is a particularly difficult threat for this deck to handle. Also, I don't know that we have anything on our sideboard for this matchup. The only thing that comes to mind is Timely Reinforcements, which is not amazing. We'll put these over here. If we decide we want to cut anything... Actually, we know we want to cut these remands here. And, yeah. Not the cleanest sideboarding. I mean, in all honesty, Timely Reinforcements is not even very good against our opponent's potential Thalias. But we just have actually nothing for this matchup. Yeah. Yeah, let's go. Now we're just, like, maximum overload on 3-drops. Man, especially with Eliminates over Fatal Push, we just don't have a whole lot to be doing in this matchup. Maybe we should be keeping the remands over Timely Reinforcements just for curve purposes. I think that is definitely possible. I think 2 Timelies is fine. Let's keep the remands Maybe remand is better than not. So we'll keep 1 remand. We don't want to have 3 timely reinforcements. That's just way too much. We need stuff to be doing earlier on the curve as well, so maybe we should be trimming some more top-end cards for remands as well, as awful as it is. We'll play first for sure, obviously. And yeah, this hand looks alright. Turn 1 Vial, again, messes with us, but there's not much we can do about it. Not much to be said about it. So we're going to lead on Tar Pit into Flooded Strand here. The Flooded Strand, of course, to play around Leonin Arbiter. Yeah, we'll see what we can do. And again, this is a situation where this Eliminate, had it been a Fatal Push, means that a potential Snapcaster top deck would be so much better. Spending 2 mana to eliminate a small creature just feels awful. I'm not sure it's worth the flexibility. What this deck really wants is an instant speed Vindicate. Maybe that's asking for way too much, though. Alright, Giver of Runes is not great for us, but we'll manage. We'll play out the Delta here and pass it back. If our opponent doesn't play something not worthy, then we'll just eliminate the Giver. Our opponent's going to be taking some damage from their Horizon Canopies this game. Ariok Champion. Pro Black, which we don't care that much about. And it's a 1/1. Yeah, I guess we're eliminating this Giver. Yeah, we don't really have another choice, so let's just go straight for the eliminate. I'm not really scared of our opponent's Ariok Champion, though. If I can be completely honest, this needs to be a blue. Wait, cancel. What am I doing? I'm not in the zone today, everyone. Alright, more fetch lands, okay. I guess our Polluted Delta gets Swamp, so... Yeah, I think we kind of want to use this Archmage's Charm to draw 2 cards. If we hit cards that are relatively dead in the matchup, like that Remand, which actually might not be too bad here, since our opponent didn't lead on a Vial, then... but let's say that we were to draw some more lands or something, then we'd be looking in really bad shape and have lost access to a potentially important counterspell, but... Another Ariok Champion. You got it. So it looks like we're going to be getting our wish, being able to get this Archmage's Charm turned into 2 more cards. We can just fetch our basic here, I think. No reason to take additional damage. Alright, let's draw. Ugh. Timely's actually hilarious. This very well lines up against our opponent's Ariok Champions. If we tap out for it right now, though, we're going to potentially let our opponent resolve a Stoneforge Mystic, and that seems like a really bad proposition. So let's play our fetch out again so that we are as resilient against Leonin Arbiter as possible. And yeah. Oh no, our Creeping Tar Pit can't block Ariok Champion. What are we going to do? I mean, they're going to gain 6 life when we cast our timely reinforcements, so that's kind of interesting. Leonin Arbiter. Fetch. We'll get a tapped Grave, I suppose. Resolves. Not worried about that one. At this point, Arbiter is much more hurting our opponent than it is us. So, as an eliminate, that can only hit this Arbiter, but of course we're not going to use it for that purpose. Let's get a Plains out there. And let's go ahead and cast this Timely. I'm ready to start trading with our opponent's game pieces here. I've more recently been watching some videos on chess and playing a little bit of chess, and I can't help but think of a lot of things in Magic like I think about chess terms. It's very interesting, because before I had become familiar with some of the play patterns and stuff in chess, I would never have thought about, doing something like timely reinforcements as, going and using it as a preventative measure against my opponent's game pieces. But here we are. Only attacking with the Arbiter, huh? Do we even want to block this? I think we just chump at this point, to be honest. I don't really want this thing to be out of play. So, this will stem 2 more attack steps and gain us another 6 life. So, and this situation where our opponent has a couple of ground creatures and stuff is exactly why we brought in Timely, is it gives us a little bit of a buffer and something to do with our mana when our opponent's trying to be tricksy. Of course, our opponent isn't really being tricksy here. They just got stuck on lands. So, I mean, we've got a little more land in our hand than we would like. So, and this is one that we most certainly have to counter. So, exile Polluted Delta, pay these blue, and call it a day. I might be at the point of just clocking our opponent with Tar Pit. Archmage's Charm is pretty good. So we can't activate Tar Pit and still cast Charm, so I guess we're not doing that anymore. We'll play our tapped Watery Grave. And yeah, we'll just pass it back. How crazy would it be to trade our Tar Pit with this Leonin Arbiter? I think that's pretty ridiculous. To be honest, we may not block at all. Excuse me. We may not block at all because this is gaining us 2 life a turn just by our soldiers being in play. So let's just take the 2 damage, in all honesty. We're giving our opponent a target for this potential Skyclave Apparition, but Stoneforge Mystic. Well, we can't let that one resolve, just like before. So, as much as I'd like to draw some cards, I think it's far more important to counter this one. And do we eliminate yet? You know what I just realized? We could have let both of these Stoneforges resolve since our opponent can't even search with their Arbiter. I'm just playing terribly this game. Okay, well, let's just untap. And we'll get in with Tar Pit. Man, I deserve to lose this game. I even mentioned that they can't search with Stoneforge with the Arbiter out. And here I am, tunnel visioning counterspells into Stoneforge Mystics that our opponent casts. Also, there's no point in attacking with this Tar Pit, because then they just block with our champion. Ugh. What am I doing? Let's leave this Arbiter in play, even though our opponent cast 2 Stoneforge Mystics. I don't know. Maybe it's been long enough of a day that I should not have been recording this match. Regardless, not much we can do about it. All right, another Leonin Arbiter makes me want to convert this Eliminate, I think. We could still potentially top deck a Supreme Verdict. Maybe that is cause enough to not go for the Eliminate. All right, let's just untap here. Esper Charm, that's a good one. All right, let's cast that one immediately in the hopes that we draw a Planeswalker. Another Esper Charm is actually quite nice. Don't want to play a fetch land with double Arbiter in play at this point, so I suppose we could trade with 1 Arbiter with our double soldiers, pay 2 for the Arbiter and fetch, and then still be able to Esper Charm. So maybe it's okay to play a fetch land here. I'll play the Flight Strand. Is it better to trade the 2 tokens, which are gaining us multiple life a turn from preventing these Arioks from attacking, or is it better to just eliminate an Arbiter? We could also trade our Tar Pit for an Arbiter, since we can't attack into these champions. That'll eventually will change when we draw a Supreme Verdict. Yeah, I think we should eliminate one. Just kind of stem this bleeding a little bit. I mean, we could still trade with this Arbiter so we can fetch. If we hit a Planeswalker off of our Esper Charm, then it'll be well worth it, so... I mean, we gotta start trying to get ahead here. And the best way to do that is to get some pieces off the battlefield and cast our spells. The ones that we have left. We would be in a much better shape if I had just ignored our opponent's Stoneforge Mystics. That's just so egregiously bad. And we traded with our opponent's Arbiters just in time for them to find an additional land here, so there's that. Sword of Fire and Ice. Unfortunate. I guess there's a possibility we could have drawn blue card and Force, but I don't know if that would have been worth it. We'll draw 2 cards. Cryptics are good. Path is good. So yeah, let's, we have almost no fetch targets left in our deck for this Polluted Delta. We have a 4th island and a swamp. And we might draw Jace, so let's just play out the Hallowed Fountain tapped here and pass it back. If our opponent goes for an equipping of the sword, we could path the creature, or we could also get deeper into our deck by just bounce drawing the sword or something, or bounce drawing the creature they try to equip. I think this bounce drawing the sword is a little bit better. We take 1 extra damage, but I mean 2 damage a turn is not something I'm super worried about, so. Yeah, they go for their equip. Let's just bounce the sword and draw. I guess we can wait for them to go to combat to do that. Alright. So, return, draw that one. And now we actually have the opportunity to counter the sword if we want to. Archmage's Charm is good. We're continuing to get ahead. This is the type of effect we were hoping to find off of our Cryptic Command, is a way to draw some more cards here. Aether Vial. That one's pretty annoying, actually. I think we're going to want this Archmage's Charm to draw 2. I think we just got to convert another Cryptic here. Counter draw. Our opponent is ahead of us on cards at the moment, so it's probably better to just try to find a Planeswalker here and end the game. Snapcaster's quite good. There's our Planeswalker to end the game. So, despite all the blunders, perhaps we still make it out of this alive. We'll keep our fetch land around. Just pass it back. Giving ourselves the ability to snap Cryptic. Snap Esper Charm could be quite a detriment on our opponent as well, actually. Both at me. Okay. I don't think we mind this. Let's let it go. Could trade a Snapcaster here. Probably not worth it. Sword of Fire and Ice. Let's Snap Cryptic, counter Bounce Snap, since we know that it's free. Wait. I mean, I guess it's not entirely free. They get to gain some life, but... What I mean by free is it lets us play around on an opponent's path to exile, since they don't have the mana up for it. Might as well take our value while we can. Shark Typhoon is insane. That is probably a good game. And, of course, what I mean by that is, let's slam that one into play. Just the enchantment side. That seems pretty difficult for our opponent to beat. Now we can cast... Yeah, okay. So we managed to win that egregious game. Still not sure if we want to cut any of our top end. The Cryptics and the Supreme Verdicts obviously look great. The Forces look less great. They're good for hitting Vile, and that's it. Maybe it's better to have Remands, because I mean, otherwise Force isn't doing much. I guess Force can also answer their swords and Batterskull if they end up hard casting them. But, I mean, Remand is good against those cards as well. I guess Remand is worse against Aether Vial, though, so maybe we want Force instead of Remand. I don't know. Remand at least lets us get deeper into our deck, though. I guess we need to play these Remands, even though they're kind of awful. We can play a Timely, though, I think. The third Timely it's kind of top end, but, I mean, whatever. Yeah, we'll run it back. And hopefully we will play a little bit better this game. I mean, this hand needs to draw some more lands, but it has everything else that it needs. If our opponent goes turn 1 Vial, we're kind of in trouble. I think we gotta keep it, though. We might be able to dig ourselves out of a Vial draw if our opponent has an additional Vial or a couple lands. You know, maybe they keep 3 lands, a Vial, and a couple cards, and they top deck another Vial and some lands, and we're able to get ahead. There's the Vial. Land is great. Let's play it now to get it underneath a Leonin Arbiter. There's a real cost to it, though, since our Creeping Tar Pit is going to stop us from casting Esper Charm and or Eliminate on time. Kind of unfortunate. I suppose the real cost that we're seeing here is the cost of playing Creeping Tar Pit in the first place. Field of Ruin. That one is going to be unfortunate if our opponent has a Leonin Arbiter. Regardless, we're going to fetch. And if we want to fix for white here, we actually have to get a Hallowed Fountain. But then we can't eliminate our opponent's Stoneforge Mystic. I mean, they're most likely to go for a sword here, and then if they use their turn to put a sword into play, and then go for the equip on the Stoneforge, then I think we're pretty okay with that. If they get Batterskull, then I suppose we can eliminate the Germ and kind of mitigate the threat that way. We'll see what they choose to do. Yep, they went for a sword, so I think getting the Tap Fountain was the correct line, unless they just have Batterskull in hand. Delta, which we have to play and fetch now, I think, because otherwise we give our opponent the ability to Leonin Arbiter us. So yeah, let's just go ahead and fetch that now. Probably shocking. I mean, we could shock Watery Grave and cast Eliminate immediately. Or we could fix for a... Excuse me. For a Supreme Verdict down the line. I don't think it makes a huge difference. I guess we want to be able to eliminate this turn, though, so we can Esper Charm this upcoming turn, potentially. So let's just choose the Watery Grave. We don't even have a Supreme Verdict in hand at the moment. Do we want to let our opponent get the sword into play? That's an interesting question. We can also stop them from getting a Batterskull into play if they have it in hand if we eliminate now. The downside being that we don't get the additional 2 mana for when they go for the equip. If our opponent has a Giver of Runes, then that'll be a little worse, though. I think we actually want them to get the sword into play. We can also start thinking about Esper Charming to make our opponent discard, so if they have the Batterskull here, then we'll just eliminate the Germ, and that'll be fine. We actually probably can't even tap out this turn. Because then they just Violin Leonin Arbiter and get us. So let's play out our Tar Pit, I suppose. We could play out the island. But then... I mean, we're probably not casting Esper Charm. We almost certainly need to use Eliminate to stop our opponent from connecting with the sword. So let's play out the Tar Pit. We could play out the Colonnade, but I also suspect our opponent will go for one of these 2 effects here. If they don't have an Arbiter, they'll just go ahead and fire off the Field of Ruin, probably. Not this turn, necessarily, but like they could Violent Arbiter, Ghost Quarter us, and then still put in a sword. And we want them to hit this manland instead of the Colonnade, since this one's fixing for Supreme Verdict, so... I'm anticipating a potential Leonin Arbiter here, even still. Feast and Famine. Okay, so we know one of their cards is Fire and Ice. Those cards are not that particularly fantastic when our opponent doesn't have threats on board. So, there's the Arbiter. Yeah, this is pretty bad, because when they Ghost Core us, we won't be able to eliminate the creature they put the sword on. I mean, we have to let them pull the trigger first, though. Oh, they don't even. Okay. Well, I wonder if they just go ahead and go for the sword equip. If they don't have a 4th land, then that means they're not connecting with Feast and Famine this turn, which is probably to our benefit. Yep, alright, so we're definitely going to go for the eliminate here. We lose a land, but we gain a card. And if we don't lose a land, if our opponent just goes 4th land, equip Leonin Arbiter, well, then we're looking at a line that involves Jace bouncing their Arbiter, perhaps? Something like that. What do they have here on 3? Flicker Wisp? Okay. That does counter our removal spell. But we still stop the sword from connecting this turn, although that's a threat that we're going to have to deal with this upcoming turn as well, so that is pretty bad for us. And there's the Ghost Quarter on our white source. They're ignoring our tar pit. Intriguing. Okay. But they didn't search for anything else, so perhaps they simply don't play the Batterskull. Well, I mean, if we play this Colonnade and they have a 4th land, then we're just going to lose our entire world here. I mean, I suppose we could always just pay for the Arbiter, search for a basic planes, and hope to top deck a Hallowed Fountain exactly in order to cast this Verdict this upcoming turn. Pretty rough. Pretty rough. As for what we're discarding to the sword trigger here, assuming that's what's happening, it's probably the Jace. I would expect a sword to equip Flicker Wisp if they want to keep their Leonin Arbiter alive, potentially, or Arbiter if they want to play around a removal spell on Flicker Wisp and want to keep the Flyer, so we couldn't chump block with a Snapcaster Mage. Okay, well, we're taking the damage. Let's move this over. Right, so I guess we're pitching Jace. I mean, we could pitch Teferi, as it might be unlikely that we get to our 5th mana. I mean, we already have the island, so if we top deck White Source, then we can slam Teferi this upcoming turn, but we don't have anything to hold up with it. So we would have to draw a 2-mana spell that turn, or a path to take advantage of it, but, I mean, yeah, I think we probably need to pitch the Jace here, as our opponent might also be low on threats at this point, so if we do sweep the board with a Verdict this upcoming turn, then we could potentially minus on their last remaining threat. Okay, so this is looking like a Cryptic Command tap-draw situation, which will be very unfortunate if our opponent is able to Field of Ruin, because that might end our chances of using the Supreme Verdict. Not much that we can do about it, though. Yep. We'll pass it back. This is looking like a tough situation to get out of. Supreme Verdict might be enough to bail us out if our opponent continues to miss on their additional land drop. If they hit a land drop here, I suppose we can pay for the Field of Ruin, search for a basic plains, and cast Esper Charm to draw some cards. 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're not quite dead here. They go for the equip. That's fine. And again, We're back to a situation with the top card needing to be something that lets us cast Supreme Verdict. Tap draw. That's actually why I like playing a high density of Supreme Verdicts in our deck, is because situations like this come up rather frequently, I would say. Unfortunately, none of these cards does anything. It needed to be exactly Hallowed Fountain because we can't fetch with our opponent's Arbiter in play. What else can we draw? I suppose we could... I mean, there's nothing we can draw into because... Well, let's think about this. So we could Teferi minus on the Fire and Ice. And then they clock Teferi for 1 and us for 2, 7, and that gives us an additional turn. Actually, no, we can't do anything with Teferi because we can't fetch. Yeah, I think we're just dead here. I guess... No, we can't even still draw Path. We could draw exactly Hallowed Fountain and Path to Exile with our Esper Charm. And in all honesty, we probably want to use our Archmage's Charm instead. That allows us to draw just Path to Exile, and our Esper Charm could potentially be in discard mode. So yeah, let's draw Path to Exile. We did not find it. Alright, so we're dead. Whew, tough match. Tough match. Ironically, the game that we should have lost was the game that we won, so... Alright. Well, hopefully that match wasn't too much of a letdown for you guys. I am a human. I do make mistakes, as other humans oftentimes do, and I apologize if the quality of my play wasn't the absolute best that it could have been, but, you know, that happens to everybody. So, regardless, we are now 1-3. Kind of unfortunate, but like I said, we're still learning. We're still getting the hang of the deck, as I haven't played Esper in a while, and I do have some ideas for the deck list moving forward, so hopefully you'll stick with me through the end of this league, see how we do in the last possible match. If we end up going 2-3, then we at least get half of our league value back, and that's pretty good. So, regardless of all of it, even if we lose our entire league value, we still have gained useful information. I personally still think that Esper is actually playable. I think there are errors in deck construction here that could have been playing a very large role, so we'll see how that plays out moving forward. I will see you guys in the last match of this league. This is Redface Menace, signing off.